Go into the world and tell every man that you meet, there is a man on the cross.
A Catholic Take. What you need to know right now. A bold synthesis of inspiration and information. Keeping you up to date on the news and issues from a courageous Catholic perspective.
A Catholic Take with Joe McLean starts now.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McLean. Praise be to God. It is Friday. You have survived the week so far, but we have a lot to get to today, to include the most updated information on the Charlie Kirk assassination story. The FBI
he's going to climb off the edge,
releasing video footage
down to the ground.
of the suspect getting off the roof.
There's some smudges, some places we're looking to collect DNA.
Looks like he developed a limp in the process of falling down off that roof. Left a palm print, some DNA samples. But you know what I didn't see is I didn't see a barrel, a gun, or anything like that. I'm not trying to be conspiratorial, but I got to tell you, it stands out like a sore thumb. We're going to talk more importantly about the trans connection to the story. Yesterday in the after show, producer Jake read from Louder with Crowder, the leaked memo from the ATF, telling us that they found the gun, that on the billets, the cartridges themselves were etched some transgender ideology statements. Well, the Wall Street Journal is also publishing that, even though the FBI has not released that part of the story yet. The Wall Street Journal is reporting on that. We've asked Return to Traditions Dr. Anthony Stine to be on the team today at 14 past the hour to talk about that trans connection, because we're all still thinking about that Minneapolis shooter who, with his trans violence, came and killed innocent people and wounded so many others. By the way, good news, Sophia Forchis, one of the victims of that trans shooter in Minneapolis, is now no longer in critical condition. But do continue to pray for them. So we have a lot to get to today. Also on the team is going to be Sean Walsh, Dr. Sean Walsh. He's got some expertise in artificial intelligence. I want to talk about the academia, artificial intelligence, and the growing depravity of our culture. Kind of reminds me of the communist plot to destroy academia, to take the minds and hearts of the youth in the future generations. I think that story is also a part of what we're talking about today with the Charlie Kirk story. All that, plus today is the anniversary, September the 12th, 1683, when the amazing Saint John Sobieski, he's not really a saint, but I just canonized him anyway, when he came down with his winged hussars off that mountain and routed the Ottoman Turks, destroying the Muslims who were trying to besiege Vienna. Praise be to God for heroes that don't just talk the talk, but walk the walk and lead the charge themselves. King Sobieski, ora pro nobis. Let's pray today. We have a lot to get to. I would be grateful if you would share us with a friend. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thine intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my mother. To thee do I come, before thee I stand, sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, and now your saint of the day.
Most holy name of the Blessed Virgin Mary, pray for us. The Feast of the Holy Name of Mary originated in the early 16th century and was first celebrated on September 15th, the octave day of Our Lady's Nativity on September 8th. This would have been the anniversary of the day that Our Lady's parents, Saints Joachim and Anne, gave their daughter the name of Mary 8 days after her birth, according to the law. The feast was later moved to September 17th and was still only celebrated locally. On September 12th, in the year of our Lord 1683, King Jan Sobieski and his famed Polish cavalry of winged hussars, along with other imperial forces, placed themselves under the protection of the Blessed Virgin Mary, thundered down the hills near Vienna in the largest cavalry charge in history, and totally routed the Muslim Turks besieging the city. The Polish king proclaimed, "We came, we saw, God conquered." In thanksgiving for the rescue of Christendom from the Muslim invasion, Pope Pope Blessed Innocent XI extended the Feast of the Holy Name of Mary to the entire Church, originally on the Sunday after Our Lady's Nativity, and later fixed to the anniversary of the Victory itself. This feast was removed from the calendar in 1969, but later restored by Pope St. John Paul II. For more about this day and others in the Church's calendar, visit thestationofthecross.com/saints-and-seasons. Blessed Virgin Mary, pray for us.
And now your headline news. The Blaze reports Trump to award Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom. President Donald Trump revealed yesterday at the outset of his remarks commemorating the 9/11 attacks that he will posthumously award the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk. Quote, Charlie was a giant of his generation, a champion of liberty, and an inspiration to millions and millions of people. Our prayers are with his wonderful wife, Erica, and his beautiful children. Close quote. Catholic News Agency reports Pew Research survey roles of religion in how Americans vote. A new Pew Research Center study found that religion does not play a large role in how most Americans vote in the U.S. elections. Of the responding participants, 56% of Americans said religion shapes how they vote a little or not at all. 18% said religion shapes how they vote some, and 25% said religion affects how they vote a great deal or quite a bit. Among Catholic respondents, the majority, 67% of Catholics, also said God does not get involved in U.S. presidential elections. Ground News reports 10 million in contraceptives have been destroyed on orders from Trump officials. On Thursday, a U.S. AID spokesperson said that the Trump admin destroyed roughly $9.7 million of contraceptives meant for low-income countries and suggested that they were abortifacients. Following a directive to prioritize anti-abortion aid, U.S. AID officials said the policy to stop supplying abortifacient birth control led to the decision to destroy them. And those are your headline news. The gospel today comes to us from Luke chapter 6, verses 39 through 42. And Jesus spoke to them in a similitude. Can the blind lead the blind? Do they not both fall into a ditch? The disciple is not above his master, but everyone shall be perfect if he be as his master. And why seest thou the mote in thy brother's eye, but the beam that is in thy own eye thou considerest not? Or how canst thou say to thy brother, Brother, let me pull the mote out of thy eye, when thou thyself seest not the beam in thy own eye? Hypocrite, cast first the beam out of thy own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to take the mote from thy brother's eye. The Gospel of the Lord. Laus tibi Christi. The Ignatius Catholic Study Bible would say, your brother's eye. It is foolish to correct others for slight faults when we ourselves are beset with greater ones. The size difference between a speck and a log makes such practice look ridiculous. St. Cyril of Alexandria would say, the Lord added to what had gone before a very necessary parable, as it is said, and he spoke a parable to them, for his disciples were the future teachers of the world, and it would therefore became them to know the way of a virtuous life, having their minds illuminated, as it were, by a divine brightness, that they should not be blind leaders of the blind. And then he adds, can the blind lead the blind? But if any should chance to attain unto an equal degree of virtue with their teachers, let them stand in the measure of their teachers and follow their footsteps. Hence it follows, the disciple is not above his master. Hence also Paul says, be ye also followers of me as I am of Christ in 1 Corinthians 1:11. Since Christ therefore judged not, why judgest thou? For he came not to judge the world, but to show mercy. And he did so by example. So our bishops, our priests, they are to lead the way in virtue. The Venerable Bede, Saint Bede, he says, or the sense of this sentence depends upon the former, in which we are enjoined to give alms and forgive injuries. If, says he, anger has blinded thee against the violent and avarice against the grasping, how canst thou with thy corrupt heart cure his corruption? If even thy master Christ, who as God might revenge his injuries, chose rather by patience to render his persecutors more merciful, it is surely binding on his disciples, who are but men, to follow the same rule of perfection. Yesterday, you might remember, love your enemies. What credit is it to you if you just hate your enemies? Even the sinners do that. Even the Gentiles do that. Love your enemies. It's a hard saying. It's a really hard saying. But our Lord, hanging on a cross, looking down upon his own people, the Jews, who hung him there, said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He begged God's mercy, God the Father's mercy upon them for their hard hearts, for them wanting to kill their own king, for them wanting to kill their own Messiah. Let his blood be upon us and upon our children. That's what they chanted. And still the Lord said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. If we are to be like the Master, then we must learn to forgive even those most vile people on planet Earth who want to kill us. Doesn't mean we stand for the depravities. It doesn't mean we say it's okay and rubber stamp all of their sins and all of their corruptions. No, we don't tolerate that either. But we must love our enemies enough to want to convert them and even die if necessary. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Did you know you can help evangelize simply by using your cell phone? The Station of the Cross is partnering with iCatholic Mobile, America's only Catholic mobile phone company. When you join iCatholic Mobile, a portion of every dollar will support our programming. Plus, you'll enjoy great service with iCatholic Unlimited 5G data, text, and talk. With iCatholic Mobile, you can stay connected with family and friends while also spreading the truth of Jesus Christ with clarity and charity. Join today at iCatholicMobile.com.
The FBI has released more information now about the suspected shooter of Charlie Kirk. They have video of him coming off of a roof there of the school, falling down and developing a limp along the way. And they told us about the gun that they found in the forest across the street there from this location. Yet I don't see a gun in the video. I'm just curious about that. But more importantly, let's talk about the cartridges. Yesterday, producer Jake in our after show live as it was breaking read this memo that got leaked that said there were transgendered slogans etched into the bullet casings that they found. Well, the Wall Street Journal is actually reporting this as well. I'll link to both in the show notes for you today. And we're all just having flashbacks of the shooter in Minneapolis who killed innocent people with his transgendered ideology. Dr. Anthony Stine from Return to Tradition joins us. ReturnToTradition.org is his website. We'll link to that as well. Dr. Stine, good morning to you. Happy Friday. What do you think about all of this?
Good morning. I would have people be cautious before necessarily believing this. Because the ATF has said that, well, they posted this, I think it was last night, that a senior law enforcement official with direct knowledge of the investigation cautioned that the report had not been verified about the etchings on the bullets by ATF analysts. It did not match other summaries of the evidence. It might turn out to have been misread or misinterpreted. In fast-moving investigations, such status reports are not made public because they often contain a mixture of accurate and inaccurate information. So just a little bit of caution before we necessarily say that's the case. I will, however, sound like I'm contradicting myself when I say that 4chan has a track record, it looks like, of being able to track down people better than law enforcement. And in this case, they have found someone who is probably the suspect. Now, they haven't located the person, but they've got their identity. Did you talk yesterday about the person who had been found on X to have been posting about how Charlie Kirk was coming to their school tomorrow and they hope somebody did something, and then they followed that up with, oh, something big's going to happen tomorrow. Did you report on that?
I saw that, but we didn't talk about it, no.
Well, that person turns out to have be directly connected to the person 4chan identified as the likely shooter. So
did you when this happened initially, like right after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, God rest his soul, there was all this video flying around of the actual everybody's cell phone footage of the actual incident. And I watched some of that video, unfortunately, and there was a group there, a transgender group there that was up on like one of the balconies, and they were chanting something about judgment is coming for him just prior to the shot.
Almost as if they all knew.
Almost as if they all knew. Then there was the gentleman who was cheering right after the shot, looking back towards towards others. I don't know who that person is. I don't know who he was looking at. I haven't the slightest clue. But all of that is very suspicious, in my opinion.
Right. If the people, if they were in the know about this, if they knew ahead of time, they will all face legal consequences for this. I mean, if you know that someone's going to get murdered and you don't do anything about it, you become an accessory to it.
Right.
So judgment might be coming for all these people. Last night, right when I went to bed, the news broke that U.S. Marshals from around the country were swarming on Utah. President Trump treated Charlie Kirk as if he was essentially like another son of his. This is not going to be let go until they have answers. So again, all I'm going to say on this really is this. Have you noticed, if you were on X yesterday, you may have noticed that around late afternoon, suddenly X turned into a social media platform for exposing the identities and employment information of people who were publicly cheering for this. The whole country, it seems, has decided that we've had enough of this ghoulishness, and people are getting fired in large amounts right now who are on social media applauding this and saying how great it was. People with their names on their accounts who are school teachers and pilots and doctors and small business owners were publicly cheering for this nonsense. So people are reaping the whirlwind, and I don't think this is going to let up.
Well, one thing I was concerned about, and yesterday there was footage yesterday of a rally for Charlie Kirk, a vigil for Charlie Kirk, and somebody decided to run through this rally screaming expletives, cheering on the death of Charlie Kirk. And of course, the bad reaction resulted in this guy getting beat down. And I just wonder.
I was surprised by that.
But like, you don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to come to the conclusion that maybe you shouldn't try to take on 1,500 people by yourself. Like, you're not Jan Sobieski, right? Okay, so don't try this at home. But nonetheless, he did it, got the beat down. But, I wonder whether or not this will get out of control. Do you think there's a potential for this to, for the mob violence thing to sort of sweep through America, just like it did after George Floyd? So far, we're getting prayer vigils, as in a stark contrast to burning cities down. We're getting prayer vigils. So it's not, but I wonder if it's going to get out of control.
There's a lot of people openly talking about retaliation. I would caution you from even having those conversations or saying such things other than addressing it. Don't advocate for a retaliation on social media. Otherwise, your name will join the list of names of those who are getting visits from the government right now or losing your jobs. The grave danger right now is that people could lose their souls as a response to this. They can take their justifiable outrage, their justifiable anger, and they could go beyond what is justified and lose their soul in the process. Don't lose your soul over this. That is my constant warning to people. Instead, take this opportunity to maybe do a little introspection about you and your own family and where we are headed as a country, because people are saying that we hit a turning point, so to speak, when hit with his assassination, and that right now it might not be obvious, but in a few weeks it might be. It may just be obvious that something has changed.
Yeah,
but don't lose your soul. Don't be so angry that you lose your soul because of things like this.
Do you see a trend, a connection with it? We said a second ago, we can't necessarily trust the information on the transgendered ideologies etched into the bullets. I guess time will tell whether or not that ever comes out as true or false. But we are seeing a rise in violence coming from this segment of our society. The Minneapolis shooter being a stark example of that. That shooter in Tennessee as being another one. And there was a whole list of others. I see this as a growing problem. And then and I guess my point is, and I want to get your reaction to this, is unless we're willing to call a spade, we're never really going to solve that problem, are we? If we're not going to deal with that forthrightly and truthfully, we're just going to pretend that people can continue to identify however they want, then we're going to reap the consequences of that decision.
Yes, and especially since we might be at one of those times in history where there is a dramatic cultural shift. People are across the spectrum of political ideas are noting that things are rapidly changing in the sort of political leanings, the cultural leanings of this country, that we have been in a progressive period for a long time. And it seems like people are just now throwing that away. They're just done with that stuff. Maybe it's done with ignoring the consequences of a lot of that. And it stands to reason that when people of a particular ideological bent who elevate their politics to the place of religion, when they lose power, they don't react well. This is why evangelization and bringing people to Christ is so important, aside, of course, from the first reason, salvation of their soul.
Yeah.
There are a lot of consequences for a godless culture. And we are now going to experience one of them if things continue the way they look like they may continue.
Well, they are continuing down this line. That's something I want to talk more about here in a few minutes with Dr. Sean Walsh, this depravity. Yesterday I was reading No God Next Door, which is a book that came out in 1935. And it's about the communist regime that rules Mexico. The Archbishop in San Antonio, was begging Americans to read this book at the time, 1935. The current Archbishop probably wouldn't beg you to read this book, just to be honest with you. But the one in 1935 did. And he was talking about how the communists in Mexico have already infiltrated into America in 1935. The book goes on to describe Plutarco Calles' government that made it one of their first priorities was to steal the consciences of the next generation. So they went into the schools and they taught communist propaganda. They showed pornography. This is the 1930s. Pornography to these kids as a way to deprogram them from religion, to destroy religion in their hearts and in their minds. This communist depravity has spread far and wide. I believe the trans movement, the LGBTQ rainbow movement, drag queen story hours, I believe all of that is a byproduct of the errors of Russia that have spread through the world. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. We are reaping, I think, the whirlwind right now for the lack of movement on the consecration of Russia to be done properly, which is to name Russia and Russia alone, all the bishops of the world in union with the Pope, the full release of the third secret, maybe in the homily for the Mass of the consecration. It doesn't take much, but it has been a Sisyphean effort, basically. This is so impossible for them to do this, that they try to change what things are, what they're doing. We're reaping this, and the errors of Russia. Russia may have, at least on the surface, reverted to its orthodoxy, but the true conversion of Russia will be when the Fatima consecration happens. It will be the end of the schism. It'll be over. We are to be one church under the rock of Peter, and it will be one church again. But we continue to deal with the errors of Russia, which are now seem to be promoted by the U.S. as the biggest proponent of them. We are the world's first and foremost exporter of cultural degeneracy worldwide. For whatever reason, we took up that mantle, perhaps because of our institutionalized lukewarmness on matters of faith, where we will just say, We'll go along to get along. It doesn't matter what you believe. Oh, you believe in Jesus, even though you believe in a really weird version of Jesus that doesn't sound anything like what the Catholic Church teaches. Oh, it's fine. You know, we're living through the consequences of this.
We are living it. Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClain, and here are your headline news. ABC News reports midshipman at U.S. Naval Academy was shot by security forces during lockdown. A midshipman was shot Thursday at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, as security officials responding to reports to suspicious activity were clearing a building while the campus was on lockdown. The midshipman was medevaced to the hospital by Maryland State Police and was in stable condition. In an earlier statement, the U.S. Naval Academy said it was on lockdown out of an abundance of caution as law enforcement responded to reports of threats. The Hill reports Schumer and Jeffries demand major health care concessions to keep government funded. Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer and House Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries and other high-ranking Democrats say that any government funding package to keep the federal departments operating past September the 30th must include major concessions from Republicans on two big issues: the Enhanced Affordable Care Act insurance subsidies that are due to expire at the end of the year, and the deep cuts to Medicaid spending, including Republicans' big, beautiful bill. The hardline Democrat leaders are raising the likelihood that there will be a government shutdown in just a few weeks. We'll see. Catholic Vote reports police say Colorado school shooter radicalized by extremists. Colorado Springs CBS affiliate KKTV reported that deputies identified the shooter as Desmond Hawley, himself a student at Evergreen High School. He died from self-inflicted injuries after shooting and wounding two other students. Authorities say that he had been radicalized by an extremist network, but didn't provide any further details. And those are your headline news. Praise be to God in all things. Dr. Sean Walsh is joining us this morning. He's got a background in academia, philosophy, and he also helps those with drug and alcohol addiction and other. Praise be to Jesus. And he's written extensively on artificial intelligence and the dangers thereof. He joins us this morning. Good morning to you, Dr. Walsh. Thank you for your time.
Morning, Joe. Sean is fine.
Well, let's talk about academia first. As I was talking about in the last segment with our guest, Charlie Kirk focused on universities for a reason. It seems like universities used to be a place, in some golden era back in the distant history where, you would go to learn how to think, to come to a reasonable conclusion. And then you would apply that in any circumstance in life thereafter. But today it seems like academia is a place for just learning how to do a job, but it's also a great place to learn how to be a godless atheist, or worse, possibly. What say you?
I think that's an absolutely correct insight. I think that when the story of Charlie Kirk finally comes to be written, and it'll probably be written many times, it would be right to focus upon his mission to the campuses of higher education, which I believe have been at least ideologically captured, if not captured by something darker. I think this has happened incrementally on him. I think there's something very poisonous going on there, very spiritually disturbing going on there, and has been for quite a while. We've moved quite a long way from John Henry Newman, to put it mildly. And I think it was very telling to me. My Twitter feed yesterday exploded with all manner of poison, a lot of it coming out of the allegedly academic institutions, which I think have, if I can put it charitably, replaced the affection for truth with the politics of grievance, and they've replaced structures of teaching and learning with structures of power and indoctrination. And I think that Charlie did beautiful and humble work there. He went into what was basically enemy territory, if that's not too hyperbolic a way of putting it, genuine agape type love and peace, and God bless him. And I think that's a really good place to start, because Charlie's mission obviously originated in the campus, and he made the final sacrifice, giving the same, the same message with patience, with humility, and with wonderful, a wonderful Christian voice. And this, I think, is going to be. I'll just say one thing more about it, Joe, before you might want to move on. I've noticed it's taken a different form in the US, I've noticed, but here, the left, and I don't like using degrees, I try to think of the world in more supernatural ways than that, but let's just say the left have got their talking points down pat. No one here knows who Charlie Kirk was. Why are we talking in the UK about Charlie Kirk? Well, they did. My 16-year-old came home from the gym the other evening, the evening of the tragedy, extremely disturbed. We prayed together. People here, even as young as that, know who he was because he spoke to their heart. And I don't want to use trite expressions, but I think it would be appropriate to say that message will resonate for an awful long time, God willing.
I think that's part of what made Charlie so special. To your point, he was willing to take on all comers in conversation, and not even like a hyperbolic conversation. He didn't shout people down. He stood there, let them say whatever they wanted to say, and he responded to them. Everybody got a chance to talk, and he would try. Like, I remember I was watching some video yesterday of some of these encounters that he would have on campuses all over. And there would be people just so angry, so vitriolic. They'd get up there and they would just curse at him. And his response was, "Would you like to have a conversation?" And then they would curse at him again. And he's like, "Would you like to have a conversation?" I mean, honestly, Sean, how many of us would actually react that way? I think I'm a choleric fella, so I'd react quite the opposite. I'd be cursing back probably. My temperature would rise. My anger would go off. But not Charlie.
Yeah.
Always calm, always kept his composure, always tried to conversate, dialogue. But the other side, it's almost as like they were diabolically harassed, possessed, influenced in some way, because their response is pure vitriol. What explains that?
I think, first of all, it's important to say, because AI, the AI side of my career was the bit you introduced. There was a sacramentality to Charlie's mission. He went in person. He didn't do this stuff online. There's wonderful missionary work being done online. Obviously, one thinks of Bishop Barron and people like that. But he went. This was a guy who had the president on speed dial. He went to campuses. He went in person. He spoke in person. And it occurred to me yesterday, would those people who were spouting such poison about him, all of whom should have known better, would they have done the same thing? Someone put up a kind of smorgasbord of nastiness on Twitter. And I thought, would these people have done the same thing if they were all sat together in the same room with a cup of coffee? Would they have done the same thing in that context? And would they have done the same thing whilst at the same time thinking they were the good guys? There's something about social media, and I'd like to think that Charlie got the sacramentality of being in the same place as these people. I think perhaps that's important to say. What accounts for the spite of these people? I'll refer to what I said a minute ago. I think the institute they're captured by an ideology, and that ideology is captured by something far darker, I suspect. People say that the greatest trick the devil pulled is in convincing people he doesn't exist. I don't think that's true. I think the greatest trick the devil's pulled and is pulling is in constantly announcing his presence, and yet people claim he's not there, which is a slightly different trick and a slightly more, literally diabolical trick to pull off. Clear to me that there is some deep spiritual battle going on. There is some deep supernatural stuff going on that Charlie got, and God bless him for the work he did. These people are spiritually sick, and I'm like you. I mean, I'm Catherine Benedict, Catholic Unscripted, did a beautiful piece yesterday saying that as Christians, we are called to a kind of radical holiness, and our response to this should not be one of I'm putting words in her mouth. I, like you, am fairly bucolic. I am someone who, if I can quote one of your great political commentators, Mark Halperin, I'll put smack in the chat. You know, I could not do what Kirk did. I certainly couldn't do what Kirk did if I could do other stuff with my time. And he's worth $1 million of every one of the people who've been spreading poison, because they must know their line. I mean, the gospel acclamation this morning in my church, where we had a beautiful school mass, and I was in tears actually, because I was thinking that those beautiful children of Charlie Kirk aren't going to get their dad in the school mass.
Right.
That's gone. The gospel acclamation was, we are consecrated in truth. And I'm afraid the institutions have moved away from truth. When you move away from truth, you move away from God. And when you move away from God, all sorts of possibilities are ready to take over your soul. And I think that's where we are with these institutions.
Do you think the institutions can be saved? I know there are still some good institutions. I'm thinking of like Christendom off the top of my head. There's a few, of course, that are good, have great professors and hold the line, praise be to God, very faithful. But many of the big schools, and frankly, most Catholic families feel compelled to get their kids to a big school because you want that piece of paper on the wall so that it legitimizes their future careers. You know, they mix them into something, their alma maters, you know, so they want them to go to the big school, get the big school name on that paper. And the big schools, the ones that are the most compromised, I would say. Do you think it's possible for those institutions to be saved, or do we need to shut them down and start over?
Oh, all things are possible with the Holy Spirit, aren't they? I'd like to say that they are salvageable. There are still some good people working in them. You know, academia as a profession a long time ago, but I still keep up with the reading and everything. And I still know some good people there, but they're in despair as well. Wow. You know, the self-censorship is off the scale. And the power politics that was there when I was working in the academy in the 90s, that hasn't gone away, and it's become, if anything, more intense. You don't get ahead, you don't get tenure unless you basically sell your soul. Are they salvageable? I don't know. I'd like to think so. But if they carry on, if they insist on teaching the things that they are teaching, do we want to save them? That would be the question for me, and I'm not sure that I would. I'm not sure. I mean, it's shocking to me that I'm not saying to my son, who is bright and interested in things and likes books, I'm not encouraging him to go to a university here, because I worry about what they do and what they put in young people's heads.
Yeah, we're worried too.
So again, back to Charlie, that mission was a wonderful mission he was on, and perhaps, you know, perhaps the ending, the way it ended, should shock us, but does it surprise us? You know, I'm not sure it does.
No, not anymore. Nothing does anymore. And that's the next point I want to bring up, but we're right at a break here. And we're talking about Charlie Kirk. We're talking about his passing, but we're talking about the bigger strokes of our society and why Charlie Kirk did what he did. Because he saw the depravity growing in society, and he saw that you have to win the hearts and minds of that next generation. And in the last segment, I mentioned this. There's a book called No God Next Door, written in 1935. And it was talking about what was going on in Mexico under the communist regime of Plutarco Calles, who went and into the schools to steal the consciences. His words, by the way, to take their consciences so that they would be one for the revolution for the next generation. Doing things like showing them pornography, destroying and burning crucifixes, statues, and holy images on major feast days, like the feast day of Our Lady of Guadalupe, by the way. This was all part of the plan, and the Archbishop in San Antonio in 1935 said, they've crossed our border, they've infiltrated our country. And we haven't listened, and it's spread throughout the world. We're having a conversation, somewhat difficult because we're still talking about the assassination of Charlie Kirk today. But in the broader strokes, the depravity that grows within our cultures, the Western societies, institutions like universities, and your own backyard, really, we're seeing these depravities grow. More and more of us know people who have children who now struggle with gender identity issues and all that. And these are people who need to be encountered because we love them. We need to tell them the truth. But it's a difficult task. We've been having a conversation with Sean Walsh, PhD. He's got a number of articles that I'm going to link to today for you in the show notes that also deal with artificial intelligence. He's got quite an expertise in that background as well. Sean, welcome back to the show. Thanks again for your time today. We do appreciate having you on the team. Let's talk about artificial intelligence. It's everywhere now. It's in my phone. It's on all of the in order to make this show work, we have to use tools like video editing tools. It's all in those. It's listening and doing things like a lot of the content coming off of this Charlie Kirk story online. AI is touching all of that stuff. A lot of the pictures have been manipulated through artificial intelligence, and there's so many things we have to understand, and so we use these tools to help us understand those things. But are we being manipulated? Is this a crutch we should be leaning on? What say you?
When I talk about artificial intelligence or machine consciousness, and I'll for the purposes, because we haven't got that long, I'll use those two terms more or less interchangeably. I think of it as I think of it in two ways. First of all, there's kind of the metaphysics of it, which is what my PhD was in, about whether machine consciousness or genuinely intelligent machines are possible. And I don't believe that they are, for various reasons. I don't think that from the base metal of algorithms, you can construct the magic gold dust of consciousness. And I have arguments for that. My PhD itself argued that to think that you could do that, to think that you could build machines that were genuinely consciousness would require a true theory of the mind it would require to be true a theory of the mind which involves certain category errors. So it's not possible. So the metaphysics, put that to one side. To bridge into the next thing, it used to be the case that people were worried that these machines would somehow wake up, that there would be a singularity, and then that they would attack us or take over. I don't think that's the right way to look at it, because I don't think machines will ever be conscious in that way. In fact, I don't think they're ever going to be conscious that they're machines. And I've said before that the relationship of what we call AI to genuine consciousness is like relationship of kitsch to real. It's massive repetition, but it never generates the real deal, if you like. You can't simulate your way into something that's genuine. Right. So what is the danger? The danger is that even though machines can't be conscious, we start to think of ourselves as being machines, and we lose touch of the true idea of ourselves as being created and created by God. And that we increasingly are coming, first of all, to put down our cross, if you like, because we are, as you say, AI is useful. It has a good side to it. I was street homeless for quite a time. My mobile phone helped me through that for various reasons, or in various ways. But I worry that more and more and incrementally people are giving up themselves, or they are merging themselves with the technology. And I think that there's a transhumanism issue here that is operating in slow time, and that gradually that's the way we're going. I also take seriously the possibility, and I started thinking about this after watching an interview between Father Dan Rehill and Sean Ryan a few months back. If the devil is clever, and we know that the devil is clever, it would be dilatory of him not to use this technology to his own ends. So I think we can assume that he is, and that we have to be alert to the fact that he is, and hopefully cultivate practices of discernment that we can see that what's going on is something which is actually spiritually malevolent. So there's the metaphysics of it, which would take a whole program on its own probably, and then there's the spiritual damage that this stuff does, and the political, ethical, and social consequences of technological ascendancy. I mean, what I would say then would be that an Ouija board is still an Ouija board, even if it's a high tech Ouija board. And we have to be very, very cautious about where we're going with this. And also, there's occasionally room for a bit of an ad hominem look at these things. I don't like the Silicon Valley types. I don't like their transhumanist evangelism, and if they're behind a lot of this stuff, then I'm suspicious of it anyway.
What would you?
That might just be the contrarian in me, though, Joe.
Well, probably, but probably very, very wise. What would you advise His Holiness Pope Leo if Pope Leo were to call? This is hypothetical here. He calls you up and he's like, "Sean, I'm about to write an encyclical on artificial intelligence. What should I include in it?" What would you say to him?
I think he's sensitive to this already. It's widely. Part of the Vatican criminology after the election was about the taking of the name, and that he might be the Pope who is deliberately reiterating the concerns of his predecessor Leo XIII, who was obviously very aware of the genuine supernatural harms that were available as a result of the Industrial Revolution. Well, we've got another technological revolution now. It seems to me that the Pope is alert to it. More than that, so far, what would I say to him? I wouldn't be so proud as to point him in the direction of my articles, maybe. What would I say? I think he's on the right track with this. I would like to hear a bit more about maybe a slightly more emphasis on the supernatural dangers over the social ones, perhaps. That might be the most I would be, in all humility, willing to say to him. But I think he's made some good. I mean, he was talking about it the day after he was elected Pope, so that's got to be a good thing. And I think I would go so far as to say, Joe, that along with certain climate eschatology or environmentalist eschatology, which is another form of idolatry, it seems to me, in certain iterations, that the technological ascendancy as a branch of transhumanism is we're in Tower of Babel territory here, I think, and I suspect the Pope's already alert to it. But I'll be watching what else he has to say.
I worry about the dumbing down of the next generation through tools like AI, let alone the spiritual dangers. I mean, when I went to college, I had a professor in my math class that wouldn't let me use a calculator, and I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "Well, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't know how to do it, the calculator's not going to help you. So you're going to have have the skill set first." Today, I used to have to go to libraries and pull books off shelves and read them, Xerox copies of them to take them back to write papers off of. Today, they just, they just use AI to pull all this information.
Yeah. And did it help you that he took that attitude?
Well, it creates a resourcefulness in the young lad that helps to benefit later in life.
What I mean. This is what I mean. I'll just say it very quickly. This is what I mean when I say there's a danger that it would invite us to put down our cross. We should not be putting down our cross.
Yeah, exactly.
Utility is one thing, but we're called to be higher than just adjuncts to an ascendant technology.
Amen. Well said. Sean Walsh, thank you for your time today. Appreciate having you on. Would love to have you back. We're going to link to his articles over at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. There are several articles there that we would invite you to read. This Devil in the Digital is a great one over at CatholicUnscripted.com. Check that out. We're going to go into the after show, but Monday morning starts a new round of A Catholic Take. Praise be to God. We'll continue to bring you the latest coverage on the Charlie Kirk story and much, much more. Share us with a friend. God love you. A Catholic Take and all of our shows are made possible through the support of listeners just like you. Your support for our fall appeal will help us to expand the reach and impact of my show, A Catholic Take, and all the other great programs right here at the Station of the Cross. You can help us today by either calling 877-711-8500 or visiting our website, thestationofthecross.com. Thank you in advance, and may God bless you and your family.
And we're back. Welcome to the after show, everyone. And if you can believe it, it is Friday once again.
You're just saying that because you're trying to get the bingo card thing done.
I'm just saying it because I'm expected to say it now, apparently. It became a stolen catchphrase. But actually, I didn't put that on the bingo cards.
Pretty confused and think it was Thursday or something.
Yeah, exactly. All week, I kept thinking it was a day later than it actually was. So, completely right.
I'm trying to fact check something right now that I saw in the comments. We'll see if it's true, but
there's been a lot of fact checking required this week.
It's just too much fact checking required this week.
Well, just so many.
I shouldn't laugh. It's very serious, but still.
Well, yeah, it's just it's an example, like, because it's the double-edged sword where the true information moves way faster than it ever has before, and it's completely escaped the gatekeeping of traditional media, but also false information moves super fast. Everyone thinks that Charlie Kirk's family was there in front of him, when he was shot. Everyone thinks that, everyone thought that old man was the shooter at first.
I'm still blown away by the old man because, this is it's so surreal and bizarre. You got the old man who's got nothing to do with it, but he's a weird bird. So we had to encounter the weird bird at a time like this. It just throws one more monkey wrench in the whole darn thing. You got another guy getting arrested for carrying around a scoped pellet gun rifle. Why are you carrying around a pellet gun at this, a scoped one? Why? What? Why are you anywhere near this? And you have nothing to do with it? It's just bizarre. These bizarre layers to this. It doesn't help. I think it demonstrates the diabolical nature of the environment with which we're having to operate. It just bugs me to no end. I did want to go back to my original conspiratorial thing, though. Am I the only one? I can't be the only one. Looking at this footage the FBI released of the guy getting off the roof, I do not see a rifle in this man's hand. I see his backpack. Are you telling me he has a takedown rifle in that backpack? I am very aware of takedown rifles. I've even considered buying one or two. I've done some research in the past on them because very interesting if you're going to be backpacking or whatever, hunting or something like that. But go look it up. Go Google. The vast majority of takedown rifles are not 30-06s.
No, but that's a weapon to use if you want to get a little bit of range and make sure it does the job.
Oh, yeah, 30-06. Correct. Yeah, it'll do the job all day long. 200. And I watched a lot of debate yesterday about people debating about whether or not it's easy or not. It's easy. Yes. If you have a scoped, zeroed rifle, and you're in a prone position, and you can hold steady, take a deep breath, and slowly squeeze, you're going to get that shot within a range of about that. No problem. No problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just struggling with the idea that a 30-06 takedown is in that backpack. And if it's not,
Joe,
then where's the rifle?
I'm going to send you a conspiracy theory that'll probably speak to your concern then that I saw posted to X. I'm just going to email it right now. Just check your email. Should be there right now.
I got to go to my conspiratorial inbox. I don't mean to be conspiratorial. I'm really not trying to be. I'm just asking an obvious question that nobody is like.
This is too convenient because everybody is latching on to the fact that he wants to have debates and it's his opinions that they killed him for, when they ignore the fact that he is one of the people most directly responsible for having Gen Z turn a hard right wing politically. And he's one of the people most directly responsible for TPUSA through their TP action group delivering 3 of the swing states to Donald Trump. So
100%.
People are ignoring that
Kirk
stuff. And I'm like,
that.
oh, that's motive. By that alone is motive.
Yeah. But going back, hold on, before I move on from the rifle thing, here, listen, this could be a nothing burger. But why? Okay, it bugs my mind because all of these press conferences they've had where yesterday we found the rifle wrapped in a towel in the woods. They said that at the press conference, which matched that leaked ATF document that Louder with Crowder put out that Jake read yesterday live on our after show. Why during the process didn't they say, "Oh, it was a takedown rifle"? If they'd have said those words, it was a takedown rifle, I wouldn't even be having this conversation today. I would just assume, okay, it's in that backpack. But I Googled this morning, hey, 30-06, takedown rifle. I didn't find one readily. I'm sure one exists, but guess what's going to happen? That barrel is going to be really, really small. Guess what happens with a really small barrel? The smaller your barrel, the less accurate that rifle is going to be at distance. Because the longer the barrel, which is why my 308 has a ginormous barrel on it, is because that rifling that spins that barrel up makes it fly super straight and flat, generally, flat's a relative term, flat at high speeds for a very long time, for a very long distance, which is why, long-range rifles always have huge barrels on them. 200 yards is not super long range, but I think it also explains why I don't personally believe he was shooting for the neck. He was either going for the head or the chest and missed. Unfortunately for Charlie Kirk and his family, that miss was still fatal. God rest his soul. By the way, Christopher says in our Telegram group, he says, quote, Rob on Avoiding Babylon reported last night that a priest DM'd him to tell him that he was personally working Charlie Kirk privately through OCIA or RCIA. Do they call it RCIA or OCIA today?
They call it OCIA now, which, sounds even worse than RCIA.
Yeah. So I've texted Avoiding Babylon, Anthony Abate, for verification. He says a person who knew the priest DM'd Rob, not the priest himself. It's not. He says it's.
Take it with a grain
He
of salt.
says it's not. Yeah, he says it's not a definitive fact. So take it with a big grain of salt. All right, so I got your conspiratorial link here pulled up. Let me read this real quick. This comes from Disgraced Propagandist.
I love Twitter handles sometimes.
They're pretty great. Sometimes I feel a little guilty posting tweets from some of them in the ACD Insider chat, but I'm like, the content's too necessary. You need to see it, even if the handle's a little suspect.
Disgraced Propagandist. See, as Holy Roman Emperor, I would require everybody would have to use their real names.
I think the events of the past week show why that's a bad idea.
Exactly. It's a bad idea.
Exactly.
He says it's a bad idea. Oh man, I used to use an anonymous handle years ago, and I switched. I switched to my real name. I don't know. All right, so this is what it says. Huge grain of salt. We're neither confirming, nor denying. We're not validating. We're just reading. That's all we're doing, people. All right. Charlie Kirk's killer is Sky Valadez, correctly identified by 4chan. He's an outcast, a trans amateur, patsy, tapped by professionals. This is typical in intelligence or terrorist operations. The professionals trained him and gave him the plan. Because this is like the question of the Butler PA guy. Did we ever find out whether or not that Butler PA guy was in any of these groups? These online 4chan or chat groups or whatever? Did that ever come out one way or the other? I don't know if it did or didn't. It says these handlers provided him with the hope of escape by telling him to take the rifle with him after the shot and drop it in a location where it would be retrieved. This explains why he takes the gun. Where did he take the gun off the roof? I'm looking at the video right now.
It looked like he was wearing a jacket. It looked like he was wearing like a long coat or something to me when he was jumping off the roof.
No, I'm looking at it right now. You can see his jeans. The jacket, maybe. Maybe he's got the gun on his back. I can't. It's too grainy to tell definitively. But I'm going back to the actual.
Depends on the color of the weapon too. Yeah.
Well, I imagine the barrel's black. Unless he went all out and got like a mahogany cherry wood stock polished with a blue metal barrel on it, or some sort of silver, fluted barrel, or something famous or expensive, something like Jake would do. He'd probably buy something really fancy like that.
No, it'd be like one of those Beretta, custom engraved shotguns.
Yeah, right. No, Beretta. No. It wouldn't be Beretta, would it?
Beretta does engraved shotguns.
Is Beretta the Italian company? Is Beretta an Italian company?
Yeah, Beretta is an Italian company.
Okay, all right, then fine. Yeah, then I know what you mean.
The oldest active firearm manufacturer and one of the oldest continuous operating companies in the world. Beretta.
And I love that so many firearms manufacturers that Americans love operate out of countries that don't allow their own citizens to buy firearms easily.
Kind of ridiculous, yeah.
And Beretta loves selling guns to Americans.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Just not to Italians.
Nope.
I'm looking at this footage again directly from the press conference, and I do not see a rifle in this man's hand. I can see his waistline where his jeans begin. So he's got some sort of, looks like he's got a jacket on, but it goes to the waist. It looks like he's got his backpack in his hand. He drops the backpack while he's jumping.
Almost
hits the ground.
I wonder if he broke the weapon down or something quickly.
Well, that's why I was asking earlier, because a 30-06, which they said the gun was, can somebody Google it? Can you find a 30-06 takedown rifle for me for sale right now someplace?
Are we sure it was a 30-06?
Well, that's what the FBI said.
Did the FBI
30-06?
Did the FBI confirm it was a 30-06?
They reported yesterday at the press conference 30-06.
Okay. That's what I'm just checking, because there's just so much.
I didn't get it off of X. I got it from the guy.
But even that, there's so much that was that may or may not have been contradicted from the other report. I'm just making sure we get.
Yeah, they haven't gone back on that so far as I know.
Yeah, because other people were saying, oh yeah, it was one of the stories going around was that it was reported that the gun was a decoy, the one they found.
There's a Browning BLR that is a 30-06 lever action takedown rifle that looks like it very easily can break into two pieces.
But they said it was a bolt action, not a lever action.
Huh.
I found that one, by the way. I did see that one this morning. Lever action. I hadn't seen a bolt action takedown 30-06 that could fit in a backpack, which means short barrel. Long. If you take the barrel off of a long barreled rifle, it's still longer than that backpack is. I guarantee it. It wouldn't fit in that backpack. Maybe the stock does. The action does, but not the barrel.
Especially since, you got to remember when you're looking for this weapon to also make sure to put in the brand name, the Mauser.
So, I didn't even do that. I just generally Googled. I was hoping to find you got 17 different options of 30-06 takedown bolt action rifles to choose from. Do you want camo pattern? Forest? Do you want desert forest camo pattern? I just figured there'd be 1,000 options, and I didn't find a single one that really matched what I thought would be the description that they had given us, which was not much of a description, by the way.
Did the FBI yesterday confirm that it was a Mauser 30-06?
That's a good question. I'd have to go back and
I didn't see the whole thing last night. I saw a clip of it, but
I'd have to rewatch that part. I'm not sure. Going back to the disgraced propagandist's post, he says, I meet them in the safe zone somewhere. This is where he appears to be running so fast afterwards versus ditching the gun and trying to blend in. They've instructed him that if he moves quickly enough, he'll stay ahead of the crowds, which he just barely does. There is footage.
All three of us have been ignoring the chat, and everyone's reporting that they've caught the guy. Trump just said they caught the guy.
No.
What?
Everyone else got the scoop on us because we were busy.
Besides that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play?
So,
okay, can we find a live video?
Let me take a look here. Let's go to news tab on X.
Let's see.
Let's see.
Trump confirms.
47.
I know friends that were there, and they told me, they said, what we witnessed, the physical emotion of being there, or watching it on television. He was somebody that, I always said he was very talented, but, when you love something.
This is live, but they're not talking.
So what I'm seeing here was 3 minutes ago, Rapid Response 47, which is an official account for the president, said on Fox News, I think we have a high degree of certainty we have him in custody.
Wow.
That's not as concrete sounding as I'd like.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the live feed on Fox is him talking, but not talking about the guy being arrested. So that's not helpful. But you've been tagging me. I know, Janice. I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention. Mea culpa, maxima culpa. Trump says he didn't watch the vid either. He didn't have to. He had heard enough. Chesty says, who is to say that the rifle wasn't custom modified? Well, it could have been. Certainly it could have been. Many people modify their guns. Not rocket science, especially if you are trying to pull something off like this. Oh, I got to say.
Axios is reporting 1 minute ago. Trump says live on Fox and Friends on Friday morning that he learned of this development 5 minutes before the interview, that law enforcement released more details later, and that they have arrested the suspected shooter. So this is.
I would like to remind people, by the way, that the state of Utah is a capital punishment state, and
the governor has already said they're going to go.
This kind of murder definitely falls under that kind of under that jurisdiction.
I was going to say modifying that rifle to be a takedown and still precise. I got to say you got to have some skills for that, right? Like could I pull that off?
I have my doubts that a transgender independent music maker online who makes songs about wanting to kill Charlie Kirk is going to have the skills to modify a weapon that way. I could see the kid having been taught how to use a weapon by his dad or something,
right.
Or
just spending some time at a range.
These trans groups. They put out videos advertising how they train at ranges. There's this violent
the John Brown Gun Club exists. If you don't know what that is,
this is a violent. And the thing is, all these people. This is a small subculture, and they are all linked. They are all in Discord servers together. They are all in group chats together.
Word is the FBI has most of these groups network mapped. Like they could go and bring them down.
That doesn't. I was going to say that doesn't give me any confidence at all. we saw the head Brahmin himself come out yesterday, say nothing, let his subordinates say, "Yeah, we have no idea what we're doing," and then walk off. I have no. I never liked Kash Patel very much. I know a lot of people were wanted him for FBI head. I never really liked him, and
he was sharp as an attack on some of those interviews prior to the election.
But anyone can be good in an interview.
I watched him on Sean Ryan's podcast, and I thought, this guy's sharp. He really understands the issues. But it's been nothing but disappointment since.
Yeah, useless.
Yeah, exactly. Cat Cans, good morning to you. I'm sure I'll experience that under suspicious conditions in jail. What, you think he'll get the Epstein treatment in jail all of a sudden? Seems to be one of the theories anyway. I guess we're about to find out. The question in my mind is going to be whether or not the authorities are going to release any actually connecting details back to the trans community. Have they so far? How much of the federal investigation component of the Minneapolis shooting has come out and said this is the issue on the transit? Like his connection back to the trans issue. Most of that was just from like us, not us directly, but people like us, creating content and connecting those dots. I don't know that the investigative team has come out and said, that this is a trans issue or related to a trans issue as much. Because that guy left a manifesto, I think it became more obvious and unavoidable. And that manifesto is out versus the lady in Tennessee who shot up that school. They tried to keep her manifesto hidden for a long time. Was it her or him? I forget now.
That was a woman trying to be a man, I think.
Yeah. I thought so, yeah. Newsmax says someone close to him turned him in. Praise be to God for that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Eileen, for that. Praise be to God for that. So I don't know. Going back to this, the gun thing is just, I don't know. To me, there's an issue there. I'm just not buying it. Could he have modified it? Sure, but I think he would have needed help. If he just went out and bought himself a cheap hunting rifle, bolt action, put a scope on it, went on YouTube, how to zero a scope, how to sight a scope in. You go to the range, you watch that video, you do the deed, and boom, all of a sudden you're on target. You're putting rounds on range. It's great. It's easy. 200 yards is not that far for pretty tight group shots if you put the effort into trying. Mm-hmm. It's really not that hard. It boggles my mind when I see these commentators say, no, 200 yards is too far. You got to be really great at it. No, you do not. You got to breathe.
It's weird hearing that from avowedly pro Second Amendment groups who all will
right.
You'd think they should know better.
Where they're wearing their shoulder holster.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't have much experience with firearms, and I will be the first to tell you 200 yards for anybody who's put a few rounds down range at a isn't much. I mean, it's not.
It's not that impressive.
This is a big issue with kind of conservatives and the Second Amendment community, so to speak, is that there's a great deal of blindness and complacency.
My wife tells me that the BBC is also reporting what Trump said.
There we go. Yeah. So, but they're just so wrapped up in, kind of just the only thing they're interested in, just kind of generic legal fights about firearm ownership, that sort of thing, and they don't really know anything about guns and gun ownership as it's widespread in the U.S. They have no idea that there are left-wing gun nuts out there who are violent and who train because they expect to fight right-wingers and shoot moderate conservatives like Charlie Kirk, and they just they just assume, a woman couldn't have made that shot, no one could have made that shot, a leftist isn't strong enough to pull the trigger. There's just this complacency about owning guns.
That's also a weird take from people who try to tell you about the history of communism, because I'm pretty sure the Soviet Union, a country of leftists, had a pretty good track record with their military snipers. I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
I'm not wrong about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just there's a lot of just kind of making dumb assumptions just out of basically complacency and a sense of superiority. Like the idea that the U.S. government will never come down on civilians; there'll just be an uprising of all the people who own guns. Like the U.S. government has come down on civilians constantly. There's never been an uprising against them. Not since the 1800s maybe.
Right.
So
don't change anything. I just want to see what happens if you. But maybe I can just physically move this over. Can you guys see that?
Yes. Did you hear, guys? Joe just said I'm perfect. He said, "Don't change anything.
You're perfect the way you are.
Don't change anything."
God loves you the way you are, Jake.
I knew it.
God loves you just as you were born this way.
Knew God.
You were born screwed up,
everything
Jake. It's not your fault, Jake. You were born that way. Okay, pal.
Exactly.
One thing. So we talked about this yesterday, and it's sort of gruesome to talk about in light of Charlie Kirk's passing, but a lot of people are also talking about him wearing body armor. I see zero body armor on Charlie Kirk. Zero body armor. He was wearing a t-shirt. That's all. And some people are talking about how the bullet hit the chest and ricocheted. That's not possible.
I thought the FBI said that he was wearing body armor. I thought they said that.
Do you see body armor on him? I don't. I see zero body armor. Look, you would see something under this shirt. I don't. I see his pectoral muscle there. That's all I see. You can even see
him wearing some space age body armor that we don't know about.
What's that lump? Hang on. Can you go back to that other picture, Joe?
Yeah.
This
is his pectoral muscle.
Is his back bunched up a little weirdly, or is that something under his shirt?
That's him sitting on the chair.
Is that the chair
digging into his back?
Is that digging into him? Okay, yeah.
That's my guess.
It looks a little weird, but yeah, I can see that.
I can't say for sure. I don't actually know, but I see zero straps around his shoulder. I see no impressions under this shirt whatsoever to indicate I hate to say this. I don't want to say this, but I see a nipple there. I see his pectoral muscle.
Yep.
And as I said yesterday, I believe what we saw in the shirt was the actual shockwave of the round because it was supersonic. I believe it hit the neck, though. I don't believe it hit his chest. My first impression when I saw the video was it hit his chest. And I thought, there's hope, because I thought it was like center mass and maybe missed his heart. And I'm thinking, there's hope. He could live through this.
Who is like God is asking, what's the little strap visible by his neck? Is that a necklace he's wearing?
This is like
probably a medical necklace or something.
Yeah, necklace of some kind. I don't know.
Maybe it's a brown scapular.
Well, going back to the
potential Catholic convert to, scapular wearing.
His wife is Catholic. We'll give him that.
Hey, all I can say is President Jeff Davis wore brown scapular. So. Yes, I said president.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The South will rise again. Praise be to God.
Yes, at the Last Judgment.
War betwixt the states. At any rate, I don't know. I was just listening to Officer Brandon Tatum talking about this yesterday, and I was just like, dude, you were SWAT. How do you not know this stuff? Like, 200 yards too far. I'm like, no, are you kidding me? I mean, yeah, we go to the range. We typically shoot 100 yards. There's no question about that. We do that all the time, especially if we're going to sight rifles in. We usually sight them at 100, but it's really, really not that hard, especially if you're prone, you're lying prone, you're in the most stable position possible. And if you spend some time, you practicing some of the techniques of breathing before pulling the trigger and squeezing slowly on that trigger, then, you have a good shot, especially if it was a sighted in rifle. But going back to my bigger point about and I don't know why I'm like fixated on this stupid rifle thing. If this is a takedown rifle, there's a good chance that scope got all jacked up before it was implemented, because you bounce a scope around all over the dang place. It doesn't keep it zero all that well. So maybe that's why he missed. Maybe that's why he missed his headshot. Maybe that's why he missed his chest shot or whatever he was actually going for. I think the neck was a miss. Anyway, I need to get off the morbidness of that. Caleb the Mechanic, good morning to you. I'm at a half dozen examples of 308. You're a half dozen of 308, 30-06, and 6.5 millimeter rounds, or millimeter rifles on a Google image search, 2 of which are bolt action. And they're all takedowns? Okay, well, how big are the barrels? Can you give me any estimate on the size of that barrel? Would those barrels and those takedowns that you found, would they fit into the backpack? That's my question. You can just make a guess. They don't have to be precise. James says, I always sighted in for 200 yards for my elk rifle, which was a 7mm Remington mag. Yeah, boy, oh boy. I'm so jealous. I want to go hunt an elk. It's on my bucket list. Feels like a bridge too far. Maybe he was wearing clothing braided body armor. I doubt that T-shirt is serious body armor. I mean, you can watch some YouTube videos of people shooting various levels of armor to give you a sense of like what each of them can withstand as far as calibers go. And anything so thin that we can't tell he's wearing it is going to be a pistol caliber at best. It won't be a 30-06.
30-06 rounds are nothing to sneeze at. They're
serious. Yeah, they're serious rounds.
The military uses 30-06 rounds for some of the squad man weapons.
Well, yeah, I mean, like the saw, for instance. Also, the thing that penetrates armor is actually speed. You want a very, very fast bullet. That's what penetrates armor. So armor piercing rounds tend to be very, very fast rounds. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with all that. I'm just bugged by the fact that this video shows this guy jumping off a roof with no gun in his hand. So it has to be a gun that fit in that backpack. And I'm just bugged by the fact that the FBI never once mentioned, hey, this was a takedown rifle. I'm like, why? Just say the words. Just say the words. They were takedown rifle. Because everybody's thinking a hunting rifle, bolt action, long thing that they found in the woods. Like instead of like the thing that fits in the backpack. I don't know. The saw is the saw 5.56? Vietnam was the 60 cal.
I'm pretty sure the M60 is a 30-06.
The M60, yeah. I've shot that when I was in Marine Combat School. They let me shoot that thing. No, it was boot camp. It was actually boot camp. It wasn't Marine Combat School. It was boot camp. I got to shoot the M60 from the shoulder and Rambo. It was like offhand. It was so cool. I shot it at an armored vehicle. It was a good time. Caleb Mechanic says, I think I found what they're talking about. Also, I don't know how big his backpack was, but it could fit in mine. Looks like a Mauser pistol with a folding stock and long barrel. And it's a 30-06, Caleb. So there you go. I guess it's possible. That's what this audience does. We are sleuthers. Our Leon.
We're sleuthers.
Okay, now we're getting our calibers all messed up. Arleon says the M60 was a 7.62.
I saw one that said online that said it was a 5.56 just a second ago.
Interesting. Well, the 308 is not far from a 30-06. They're very similar, 308 and 30-06. Boss Creole said, what? Mag what? Susie from Down Under, good morning, says, love that terminology, Jake. Zionists, Catholics, plenty of them out of 1.5 billion Catholics in our world. Kate, good morning to you. Says, this limp was probably due to having a rifle down his leg. I don't know about that, Kate, because he falls from the roof and when he hits the ground, his legs compress to absorb the shock. I think it would have stood out pretty obviously at that point if there was something in his pants, number one. Number two, his pants aren't at all baggy. So I don't know where he would hide a rifle down his pants in that regard. So I'm going to say I'm not sure I don't think I'm on that team, but it's far more likely that that rifle was a takedown and in his backpack. But I'm just bugged that they didn't tell us it was a takedown. I don't know. I just want them to say that just to kind of relieve my mind over it. But Dave's Jew 93, welcome back. Good to see you back on the team. George, good morning. See, don't you think we're focusing too much on guns? Yeah, probably. We should talk more about his legacy, what Charlie was standing for, and what we need to be talking about. Well, George, we did that for a full hour. And now this is the after show. This is where we got into other different types of aspects to the story. But something we did talk about during the radio show, which was the last hour of this program, we talked about his legacy going to these schools and be willing to, in my humble opinion, so bravely with no protective armor on. I do not believe he wore any protective body armor and sat in front of this giant crowd, many of which people did not love him and could hurt him at any time, and he did it time and time and time again. And every time they said some vulgarity or nasty thing to him, he asked them if they wanted to conversate. I consider that incredibly brave. Incredibly brave. Something else we talked about in the last hour, George, was I mentioned a book called No God Next Door, written in 1935, and it talked about the communist regime under Plutarco Calles in Mexico, and how they were trying to, after the negotiated peace deal in the Cristero War, the Cristeros stand down because the Vatican negotiated a deal between them and the United States and Mexico. And guess what Plutarco Calles does after this? He hunts them down, and he arrests them and kills them. He steals their convents, their monasteries, and their parishes. He closes their schools, and he goes about implementing a program to steal, his words, to take the consciences of the youth for the next generation, for the revolution. This was after the negotiation of the Cristero War. And he shows these kids pornography as a part of his re-education program in schools. This is the 1930s. The 1930s. No God Next Door. You guys can look it up on Amazon. That's where I got my copy. Low Key says, Ben Shapiro temporarily canceled his upcoming university visits. Do you think, Dr. Stine, do you think we're going to be doing this again? Do you think someone's going to pick up this mantle and go back to doing what Charlie was doing?
I tend to think so. I've seen some figures out there saying they're going to do these. I saw Milo Yiannopoulos yesterday announce he's coming out of retirement to go back to doing college tours. I'm not sure I'm not sure he's the best ambassador, and I don't mean that in his past sins kind of way. I mean more of his way of enjoying provoking people.
Yeah, he's a provocateur.
He's very entertaining, and while I enjoy watching him trigger people, I don't think that's necessarily the best approach for trying to win the hearts and minds of people.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think he's even trying to do that.
For those who are concerned about his past of sin on his X account, he has like a countdown timer for how long it's been since his last issue, we'll say.
Yeah.
And it's been like 4 years.
Yeah.
So he's got some kind of public accountability going.
Mm-hmm.
and he's practicing the faith. So no judgment for me on that, but just I know he's talking about doing this, and I've heard a few others who are talking about just defying these people and going and doing it.
Michael Knowles, I guess, has said he's not going to cancel any tours.
Yeah. Ben Shapiro has canceled a couple. I'm not surprised, though. I think also Ben Shapiro is reaching past the age of where it's a good idea for him to be the one doing it. Yeah, that's all my personal problems with Ben Shapiro aside, too, by the way. Yeah. I'm not a fan, but...
Yeah, neither am I.
I'd rather. I like watching him talk about pop culture, but beyond that, nothing else.
Do you think? I was listening to Dale Comstock, former Green Beret, former Delta Force, former whatever, Black Hawk Down guy, Special Forces guy, and he was commenting. He said he doesn't fault the security detail of Charlie Kirk. He says they did what they could. But he was surprised that there wasn't somebody up on the roof line with a walkie-talkie and a pair of binoculars just sort of monitoring Overwatch. Do you think that Michael Knowles or whomever decides to continue to do these types of things, Milo or whomever, do you think that they're going to need to up their game on security detail, or do you think they're just going to try to be as brave as Charlie was? I mean, now that this has been done once, it can be done again, right? So, like, what are the ramifications of that? Do schools cancel all these things because they don't want the accountability of this? They don't want people being shot on campus. They don't want to have to hire extra security and have all their roof lines monitored and all this other stuff. I mean, is this the last of it?
You would think that the schools would consider reining in their students, reining in the people radicalizing their students. But top to bottom, the schools are run by people who do the radicalizing. Your presidents and all of his executive staff are all radicals in nearly every university in the country.
Yeah.
But logically, that's where you would take care of the problem. You don't silence the speech. You clamp down on the terrorists. That's what you do. The revolutionaries, the people who think they are the revolutionary vanguard, going to bring in a new age of peace, prosperity, and kumbaya if only you implement hardline socialism, which has apparently never been tried. Ignore the body counts from history. Some of them, more honest ones, admit that that those regimes killed a lot of people and think they didn't go far enough. And look forward to doing it here.
There you go.
I know. I went to Portland State University. Okay. I was surrounded by these people.
Man, did you get the tattoo, the barcode tattoo that they gave you? Portland State University?
No. No.
Suspect in custody, CC Stone. Yeah, we saw that. President Trump announced it on the morning show. Interesting that he did that. We're all eagerly waiting for more information about the suspect in custody. We'll see how long it takes before they have another press conference to tell us more what they know. Robert DeBruce, good morning to you. Gugwensa, good morning to you. KZ2, here, let me throw this in. When they showed the weapon, it was on the blanket and put together. Did they find it like that, or did authorities put it together? Okay, so I don't remember seeing the authorities show us the rifle. I do remember a picture spreading through the internet that claimed it was the rifle. I never shared that footage or that image because I wasn't sure if it's accurate. There's so much fake news flying around about this that I didn't feel 100% confident on it, so I didn't share it. But I remember the foot. You tell KZ, tell me if I'm looking at the same thing you were looking at. What I saw was a cardboard box on what looked like grass. It was very cropped, so you don't get to see much. And a black bolt action rifle with a scope. It almost looked to me like the box that the rifle came in when you bought it. Because we generally like their long rectangle thin boxes that the rifle comes in. That's what it looked like to me. It looked like to me like somebody bought this rifle, set it on the ground, opened it up, and took a picture. Because you can see tennis shoes. There's multiple people in frame. their parts of their feet were in frame, and it looked like somebody bought that and took a picture of it right after they bought it. That's what it looked like to me, which is why I said I don't see a towel anywhere. To me, that does not look like the right image, so I never shared it. So I got a feeling that was not true. I don't remember seeing any footage. Is anybody, when they talked about this at the press conference, was there any footage? I didn't remember seeing that.
I don't remember seeing any either.
CD Linger, inside events can be more secure. You're saying this was an insider event, like this was all planned and there was a lot of people involved? There could have been. I don't know.
I was talking about indoor events.
Oh, indoor. Inside events. Oh, thank you. Okay. Inside events can be more secure. For sure, they can be. I would agree. I don't remember a box, but I'll go look. Yeah, if you find something different, KZ2, let me know. Or maybe email it to me, too. You could do that. James, good morning to you. Edward Clancy's back on the team, saying it was a Mauser. Good morning to you. And Caleb, you said you found a Mauser takedown 30-06, right? I think it was a Mauser, he said. Linda Ann Wheeler, good morning to you. CC Stone, good morning. Patty, good morning. Donald Paddock, good morning. Junior Barr, good morning, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. Jerome posted something about Charlie Kirk identifying Epstein as an agent of Israel. Did you ever see Charlie Kirk's reaction after that October raid by Hamas on that concert in Israel? Very, very critical of Bibi Netanyahu. Very, very critical. That was on the Patrick Bet-David podcast, by the way. Navy SEAL reacts. What does he say, Sharon? This is a TikTok video. Yikes. Watch this video and not now. I don't want to be on TikTok. Ever. I don't know what he says.
TikTok is a wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Yeah, very, very good.
It's a China product. It's owned and operated by China. I don't want to it's bad enough. I have to be on X. It's bad enough. I'm really only other X. I spend if I'm on anything else, it's going to be on X, and it's just watching and gathering information. I tend not to spend so much time on a lot of these other places, but
AI can deceive you. Don't trust it.
It is bad enough as it is.
Mos Eisley wasn't the worst place in the original Star Wars universe. There are worse places, much like Reddit exists.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Maybe it's the Jabba's palace of the internet.
Reddit's horrible.
I would say 4chan is probably the worst. If there's a bright center to the internet, you're on the website that it's farthest from. If you're on 4chan.
Is that right? You're on the opposite end of the universe. Sharon, can you summarize for me what that Navy SEAL says? It wanted to put me on TikTok, and I didn't want to be on TikTok.
What were we saying, Dr. Stine?
I was going to say the bright center of the internet is probably either the Vatican's posting of the Bible or Bible Hub or something,
or newadvent.org or something like that. Yeah,
and Reddit is basically a political activist website for porn addicts.
Pretty much,
that's all it is.
Yeah, it's Reddit. Reddit used to have some very interesting. It used to be really good for looking up how to do something or how to solve an issue because it'd be kind of a central hub for just niche sort of just issues and problems and interests and hobbies. And they would actually have back and forths about how they solved a really weird issue that only like 3 people were having, that wouldn't be on the FAQ for the website for the thing you were having a problem with at all. It used to be really good for that, and it got completely taken over. Just completely taken over. Crazy. Really crazy.
Yeah, I used to, when I was doing archery videos on YouTube, I belonged to a traditional archery group on Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
They would get mad at me because I would post links to my videos. They're like, "Why are you doing that?" I don't know, because this is a traditional archery group.
Yeah,
interested in traditional archery, which my video happens to be about.
Yeah,
like, why wouldn't I do that? Like, don't be dumb.
Yeah, there was a lot of that, and that mentality is kind of what got exacerbated into just it's all jammies. It's just all hall monitors.
I'm gonna need to go soon, but Joe, maybe you can help me with this.
Sure.
The Undersecretary for the Dicastery for Human Development, which I still don't understand why that exists, but Cardinal Fabio Baggio, he says when we speak of salvation, we speak of integral salvation. What does that even mean?
What does that mean?
Integral. Well, I'm going to have
integral
to,
human development.
Dr. Stein, clearly
he
here.
said this in La Servitor Romano, by the way, so you know that ultra hard trad website, La Servitor Romano.
I don't understand why you're struggling with this, Dr. Stein. Clearly, you have a PhD, so you should truly understand integral salvation. But in this situation, I'm going to have to hesitate to articulate for fear that I might deviate from the true course of rectitude. Hopefully that was helpful.
Okay.
Yes.
Raw's Alerts reports a Utah Valley University student says he contacted the FBI after spotting a male suspect on or near the Losi Center roof twice in the weeks leading up to Charlie Kirk's shooting.
Wow.
The student noted that the man looked strikingly similar to images of the person of interest and added that a professor had also confronted the individual on the roof. So, and then the first response is someone with the Simpsons meme, "Say the line, FBI. He was on our radar." Yay. Yep.
Wow.
Totally incompetent organization. Just shut it down at this point. Cash is a failure.
Well, can Cash be blamed for everybody's, failures? I mean, the local office, hello, where are they at?
Oh, he hasn't fixed it. That's for sure.
Well, that's true.
Yep.
Wow. So this guy's up the roof twice, and there's a big Charlie Kirk event coming.
Yep.
You'd probably have to be Perot to solve that crime. That's a little too.
That's why people are going with the Patsy idea with him. Like if you read that full thread that I sent you, he goes in to say that he's a patsy for a splinter group that most people of the deep state or the left or whatever aren't part of it, but some small group probably put the guy up to it. Now he was predicting that they'd find the guy dead, so he's already wrong. But
yeah. Well, I mean, he's not got the Jeffrey Epstein treatment yet, so I mean, there's still time.
True.
Man, oh man!
Watch, they're going to turn him into. They're going to just watch the same people who think that Mangione guy was great is going to turn him into a hero. Just watch.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think we're going to get out of hand here? That was going back to the question I asked you in the radio side. I think we can maybe end it there, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I think the whole rally where the guy gets beat down is an example of the sort of the anger rising. A lot of people, you've woken the giant. You don't know what you've done. Like, we don't need to respond with, raping, burning, pillaging. Like, I just, that's not going to solve our problems here, and it's going to make everything worse. In which case, I think that the enemy wins. I think the enemy wants the war. I think the enemy wants the battle. They want the destruction.
Well, yes, they do. But it's like Aragorn talking to Theoden. Like war is upon you, whether you would have it or not.
Whether you have it or not,
there won't be a Shire if you don't fight.
And the other thing is, we are talking about a segment of the population who gets their lessons of history and their worldview from Marvel movies and from other movies. They tell you tyranny can happen. Haven't you ever watched fill in the blank movie?
Yeah.
It's their go-to, to the point where these people do that I have withdrawn from using movie examples, except rarely.
Yeah,
because it's almost like a mark of the left now to do that.
It's so cringe. even using Lord of the Rings, for it feels cringe, but it sums it up. War is upon you, whether you would have it or not. No one should want war because it's horrible. But if it's there, it's there.
Daniel Weiss is in the chat today from sunny Virginia. Praise be to God. Good morning to you, Daniel Weiss. How you doing, brother? Hopefully everything's going really well for you. Thus, making some sort of AI more viable if it was far, far away. He must be responding to something. I don't know. I'm just seeing your name for the first time. Praise be to God. Glad you're here. Chastity says, Joe, the most terrifying force of death comes from the hands of men who wanted to be left alone.
Mm-hmm. True.
Okay, so what you're saying, like, we're living in John Wick now? I mean, like,
yeah,
is our reality John Wick? They've awoken, Baba Yaga? I mean, like,
well, it wouldn't be the first time in history that that's happened. There are parallels. Yugoslavia. You better pray it's not Yugoslavia. T-Storm used Yugoslavia as an example yesterday, and I was glad she did because I saw a tweet earlier in the day that also used Yugoslavia as an example. And you don't want Yugoslavia. What you want is the current administration to take rightful authority, legal, lawful authority, use laws that are already on the books to shut down leftists and leftist violence. That's what you need to be hoping and praying for so that it doesn't become a war. And the thing, and this is why, you don't want Trump to tone down the rhetoric. You want him to turn up not only the rhetoric, but to act on it and shut this stuff down. You want to encourage lawful legal authority to shut down leftism, shut down the Democrats, and make peace through legal, lawful means, because the other choice is that it just descends further and further into, illegal violence and civil war. And that's way worse.
If he has proof that that left-wing organizations, these violent groups, are actually funded by Democratic organizations, known Democrat organizations, then he needs to go public with that.
And he apparently said on Fox and Friends or whatever this morning, we're going to look into Soros because I think it's a RICO case against him and other people because this is more than protest. This is real agitation. This is riots on the street, and we're going to look into that. You gotta pray that happens, and you should
Jake,
pray for legal violence so that we don't have illegal violence.
What I heard you say was, what we're going to do is we're going to give it to Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. Don't worry about
exactly. That's the thing to worry about. That's the thing to worry about.
That's what you just said to me.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying is like your last hope is that Trump and JD and Hegseth and Kash and Bondi somehow get this done, because if they don't, it's going to be way worse, and you don't want that. That's what I'm saying. We're not in good times. We're not in good times, so we need to pray for the best possible solution.
Mike K. I love you so much as any of my brothers, but I have to leave. Well, I suppose. Yeah. Red Pills podcast I've seen said autism in transgender community is much higher than normal. I haven't seen that. I don't know. I don't know about that connection, but nothing surprises me at this point. There's a beautiful image of Charlie Kirk's wife holding up her rosary. I don't know when that was from. Was that post his passing? Is that very recent, or is that something from the past? I don't know. In the car, holding out a rosary. I'm not sure. Not sure where that came from. At any rate, we're about to wrap it up today. Does anyone know if Charlie Kirk was going through so there is a rumor that he was going through, but I contacted Anthony Abate, who, because it was said that Rob received a text or a message from somebody that suggested he was being taken through RCIA class. Anthony advised us to take that with a grain of salt. It's not definitive. He said a person who knew the priest that DM'd Rob, not the priest himself.
Yeah.
So it's hearsay. So take it with a grain of salt. Here's what we can say. We know that his wife was Catholic. We know that he was seen taking his wife and kids to masses. We know that he had many friends that surrounded him who were Catholic. Michael Knowles, Matt Walsh, Jack Posobiec, and many others. Even, Dr. Taylor Marshall knew him. So he had a lot of people who influenced him in his life that were Catholic. And you have to believe that many of them, planted seeds in his heart. We know that he said positive things about the Blessed Virgin Mary. We know that he said positive things about why young men were attracted to Catholicism. He also mentioned Eastern Orthodox in that Tucker Carlson clip. Because they wanted something ancient, something good, something beautiful. Their hearts were longing for something true. And he even said, I'm an evangelical, but they're being drawn to this. So we can at least say that there was something there. Beyond that, I can't say anything. I don't know anything. So I'm not sure. We can continue to pray for his repose, and that's all we can do, and that's all we're supposed to do at this point. So let's just do that. At any rate,
that's a good place to leave it, because I do got to run myself. So
yeah, we're gonna run. God bless you. Thank you again, Dr. Stine. Appreciate you being on the team. God bless you. Next week, Regular show Monday, regular show Friday. So we'll see Dr. Stine on Friday next week. Everything in between, I'm going to be in Idaho. I'll do the show live from sunny Idaho, even earlier in the day than it is today. So that ought to be fun.
Enjoy mountain time.
Mountain time, exactly. I'm acting in a small, low-budget film. I'll be playing the character of Saint Hilarion. So I'm going to fly out there Monday after the show and be out there to do the filming, and I'll be doing the show live from an Airbnb there, but it'll be still live content. We have some guests we're lining up for next week already. Praise be to God. Father Branches is back, Scott Venturia, and others. So we're working on it, so it should be good. God love you all. We'll see you then.